beautiful hearts, thank you for joining us in this beautiful conversation with my next guest, Taya Raine. Taya is a beautiful soul and a dedicated spiritual teacher. Primarily, her work is on breath work. We're going to go into that today and the sacred technology that it unlocks. But she's also someone who is very familiar with Lemuria and the whole awakening process. So this is the path of spiritual awakening. Taya, hello. Thank you for being here. It's so good to see you again.
Hi, Lauren. It's always so good to see you as well. You look beautiful, by the way. Very, very
So do
glowing.
you. So do you. Okay, this is a beautiful time together. I was really interested in this natural high that we can get from breath work. Not
Mhm.
only is it a natural high, but it's almost like it can allow DMT. It stimulates the pineal gland, which then brings on more DMT, which is manufactured by melatonin, which is manufactured by the pineal gland. And so your work with the breath work, you've been doing this and you've learned it from a lineage teacher. So in your mind, how does breath work unlock the sacred technology of the human body? Let's start there.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I love talking about breath work, so I'll just start by saying that everything you said is absolutely accurate. And I love that breath work is getting more and more popular these days. And so breath work can do so many things. I just want to start by kind of listing off some of the benefits in addition to what Lauren mentioned for you all. So not only can it bring us into the higher states, but it can also help to regulate our nervous system, allow us to become calmer, more centered, to have a way to deal with stress better, anxiety, etc. So it is very much a grounding force. And that is something that I just love so much about breath work because it does all of these high things as well. But if we're going into these high, beautiful, big, huge states, but we don't have a way to ground or self regulate, then what tends to happen is that people get pretty off kilter if they don't have a way to feel kind of secure and good in themselves, they tend to go away from breath work if they're just in breath work that's offering all these various high things. So combining all that breath work can offer is such a powerful way to become that high illuminated being, but also that very grounded, calm, centered being that has a foundation. So now I'll talk a little bit about what it does for us in terms of going into higher states. I love to reference breath work as the gateway to the higher consciousness in the most easeful way, because we don't have to do plant medicines. And we can just literally breathe, and we're going to go into these natural states kind of naturally. It's just what happens when we breathe. We reach higher consciousness. We may, develop connections with higher beings in those states that we're in. We may experience oneness with the universe. And as Lauren was saying, it does indeed activate DMT. And if you don't know what DMT is, it's such a powerful moment to learn about it. DMT essentially is known as the God molecule or the divine molecule. And it exists within us, it exists within plants, for example, but it is right in our very own bodies. And the trick is, how do we activate this? So the beauty is that creator, if you will, gave us the gift of breath in order to access these states, in order to activate DMT in our system. So DMT will activate when we are simply breathing deeper, but it will most definitely activate when we're doing certain breathing techniques. Now, if you've never done breath work, it can kind of seem like, well, how else could we breathe, right? We breathe in, we breathe out. What could there be to it? But there are actually hundreds of techniques as to how we can use our breath in different ways. So once we start learning those techniques, that is when and how the DMT activates within our system. And what DMT does is that it brings us into a state of bliss, of ecstasy, of, if you will, God consciousness. So that rather than feeling separate in our bodies, we feel that sense of infinite connectedness to the universe. And as that is happening, it's kind of like anything is possible. Basically, you may experience any number of divine states of being. And then the beauty of DMT activating is that it gives our cells and our DNA what they really need to have incredible longevity, the ability to rejuvenate, replenish, cellular turnover, detoxification of the DNA, awakening of the higher strands of DNA. And also it works on the mitochondria and the DNA of the mitochondria. And I can speak more to that if Lauren, if you would like me to do that. But for now, I'll just say that our mitochondria are really, really important. And a lot of us don't even know what they are. But our mitochondria essentially are what allow us to transfer energy and to move energy in the body. And so with all of these things happening with breath work, to me, it is the greatest key. There's so many other things that I love working with. And particularly for most of us, we also need like trauma healing. We need to awaken our voice. We need to heal our body, get our body healthy. So I combine a lot of different things in my own practice and in the overall teachings that I work with that are called the Tara teachings. But out of that, breath work to me is the most powerful. And it's been the foundation for me ultimately since I was 18. And I started teaching it when I was 23. So I'll see, Lauren, if there's anything from there you feel in particular that you want to hear more on, or I can say more.
It's beautiful. Thank you. I actually experience, and meditation can also assist us with that connectedness. But there's something about the breath and the natural high that we get from that. And I was wondering maybe if you could lead us on something so we can experience the breath. I know we've got beautiful things to talk about today, the other
Mm-hmm.
path to a spiritual awakening and the courses that you teach. It's such a big
Mm-hmm.
journey. But for just a few moments, let's do something where we can experience that breath for us. And it could be simple or it could be just that feeling, because this will get us
Mm-hmm.
all aligned.
Yes. Yes, that's a perfect way to lead into the next subjects as well. So yeah, let's do that. I'm happy to be here with you all. And I want to just welcome you to close your eyes and get comfortable wherever you may be seated. You can also be lying down, but we'll just be here for a few minutes. So seated might be best. And just sitting nice and tall, but also relaxed. And we're just going to breathe through our nose. So allow your mouth to be closed. But now gently place your tongue to the top of your mouth, to the roof of your mouth. And just begin to observe your breath without even trying to change it. So just meditating on the breath, observing it rise and fall from your belly. Whatever it's doing, just being aware of the breath. You may feel like it's barely moving. Maybe it feels like it's moving quickly or anywhere in between. We begin by just observing so that we can ground in and create that foundation of self-awareness. And I love to say that when we breathe with gratitude, so much more happens. So all together with gratitude for the breath, let's just go ahead and empty out the lungs by exhaling through the nose and just gently push the air out. Use your abdominal muscles to push it out a little bit more so that now we can take our first nice deep breath in all together, breathing in fully, filling up the upper chest, the lower chest, and down into the belly. And then exhaling all of the air again through the nose. And this time as you breathe in, try breathing in first through the belly. So filling the belly, now the lower chest, and now the upper chest. And then exhale, first push the air out of the belly, the lower chest, and the upper chest. And now just keep breathing in that way for a few minutes and see what feels natural to you. Some people naturally breathe in through the belly first. Some people breathe in through the chest. As long as I've been teaching breath work, as you're breathing, I'll just talk a little so you get a sample of how it would be in the course with me. I have found that it's best in the beginning to just breathe however you naturally breathe. So finding your rhythm. Keep breathing, inhaling and exhaling. And just noticing, does it feel natural that you might breathe through your chest first or your belly, and that you might exhale in one way or the other as well. Notice that the breath is doing something. Observe what it's doing. So at the same time that you're consciously breathing, you also have a part of you that begins to just be observant of the process. Now notice your body as you're breathing. Notice if there's anywhere that you're holding tension, and make tiny little micro adjustments as you keep breathing in and out. So maybe that's that you relax your shoulders more, or your back, or your hips, your head, or a lot of different places in your body. As your body becomes more relaxed, you can breathe more fully. Now we're going to pause in your breath wherever you are. We're going to link up our breath together. Let's exhale all together. Really use your abdominal muscles. And then we'll just take 3 breaths together. Breathing into a count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause and inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause and one more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause and we exhale, letting go of the air. And pause. And now just observe your breath, observe your state. Perhaps noticing that even in this few short minutes of time here, things have shifted. And let's consciously ask just to take that alignment, whatever shift has occurred, back into the conversation, because I have a lot of amazing things I want to share with you. And I love that Lauren prompted us to breathe for a minute. So see if you can keep that awareness and just begin to open your eyes, keep them nice and soft to begin with, and then just kind of blink them open, acknowledging that you're coming from the inner state to the outer state. And see if through the video, you might lean into holding that as much as you can. And maybe occasionally just taking that deeper breath. All right, so I'll just go ahead and keep talking, Lauren, and in a little bit, I'll ask if there's any other direction you want to take it in particular, but I'll just keep talking. So breath work is so very powerful. It can do, in my mind, anything and everything that we want on the spiritual path in so many ways. And when we stack other things into the practice of breath work, of course, more becomes available. So when I was 17, that's when I went through my awakening. I do feel very blessed. At this point, I can really look back and realize, wow, I was so lucky to awaken at 17. And at age 18, I came to Hawaii, and that is when I met my spiritual teacher. I began swimming with the whales and the dolphins and initiating in the Hawaiian lineage, the Native American lineage, Egyptian lineage, so many different lineages that were embodied in my teacher and a few other teachers that I had at that time when I was going through awakening. And for me, what felt so incredibly magical and sacred, and to this day remains that for me, is that I wanted my path to be very diverse. And I wanted to not only breathe, but I wanted to do yoga in incredible ways. I wanted to meditate in amazing ways. I wanted to use sound in incredible ways, even just exercise in ways that were spiritualized, if you will. So I began to weave intention and goal setting and mantra in even when I was running on the beach or swimming in the water. I began to weave in gratitude practices and journaling and just you name it, I was doing it. And so at this point, whenever I'm offering courses or, making short videos online for people to know who I am and what I do, I really like to just reference that umbrella. Lauren mostly knows me as, the one that teaches breath work. But there is so much that I have always offered and done and woven in. And I love that as spiritual beings, we are free to do whatever we want. I also dance. I do art. I'm an author. I write as well. I have a book called The Lemurian Keys. It's book one out of a trilogy called Tara, Legend of the Earth. And so I just want to reference that to me, the spiritual path can be so, so many things. And then the more things we stack in that align with us, the more likely our being is to stay lit up about this spiritual path. So that's a little on my background. And I'm going to ask now, Lauren, if there's anything in particular you want to ask, or you want me to talk more about the other courses now.
Oh my goodness, thank you for that. I just want to share that breath work in just those few moments totally shifted our energy. So we can see the importance of this. We can see the self-regulation of the nervous system. It brings us into center. It calms us down. It opens the heart. And I wonder if there's anyone who can share in the comments on YouTube here or wherever you're watching this, what you experienced. It's very interesting for me. I want to share. I found energy, just that energy in the throat. What could be going on there? Is that a tension in the throat? Is it an
Thank
activation?
you. Thank you for that. That is such a perfect lead in to talk a little bit more about the breathwork course and the other two that are upcoming. So yes, one of the amazing things with breath is that it actually physically moves our body, right? So a lot of us walk around with rigidity. Like even if people have been on the path for a long time, sometimes when they come to breath work, they realize their body is very stuck. And so breath work, even if you just got a little bit of a deeper breath in there, what happened was it moved your body. So one thing is that it can be the fascia. Our fascia can be so stiff and tight, and that is one of the number one reasons that we age. So breath work might have been beginning to move your fascia, but it also is infinitely connected to our meridian lines, our chakras, our auric field, and our Merkaba. And so when we start to breathe, it can show us where we are blocked, whether emotionally, energetically, mentally, spiritually. So it could have been that your throat chakra, is your breath is kind of showing you, oh, look, there's something stuck here that's beginning now to move simply because you were breathing more deeply. It can also show us where we have tight ligaments and tendons. So that's just a little on, what it might have been. But yes, that is the case, that instantly breath work begins to show us these things. That's one of the reasons that it's so powerful. So, and I love that you said how it shifted things so quickly. That to me is always the case. Doesn't matter how long I've been doing it. I always observe the same thing for myself and others. It is just such a gift. And yes, it self-regulates the nervous system. So part of what you were feeling when you say it aligned us is that our nervous systems can be doing so many different things, right? And they're so complex. They're so much more complex than we were ever really taught. And so breath work instantly, because it's connected to our nervous system, it gives us that sense of calm, of peace, of tranquility, that foundation that I was mentioning in the beginning, that to me is so important. Because yes, as spiritual beings, and what we're all wanting on our path is that feeling of returning home, right? We want those high states, we want those divine states, but we're in these bodies. So if we have a way through our breath, through meditation to ground and align, then we really become our full potential. So in this upcoming breathwork course that we have that is on healing the nervous system and activating the pineal gland, a great reset for us all. That is what we do. We meditate and breathe and intentionally focus on these practices that are going to allow us to first stabilize, to align, to ground, to center, to be calm. Then we place our intention, our prayers within that. We begin to open more, and then we go into these higher states. And as we're going into those higher states, our pineal gland will activate. And everybody's wanting that these days, right? It's like people are figuring out this is such an important part of us. So breath work is going to detoxify your pineal gland from any calcification that may be around and within it. It's going to release any toxins, and it's going to open up and illuminate the true levels that the pineal gland can go to. To me, I refer to it also as the fountain of youth or the fountain of immortality. And very few things really fully activate the pineal gland unless you're doing medicine journeys. I am not a medicine person myself. I really believe that we get there through breath and our meditation and other practices in a way that is sufficient. But if you're a medicine person, great. That's all beautiful too. But in breath work, yes, we can do all of those things with the pineal gland. And it then gives us this rather immortal essence to us. And so we become more and more capable of longevity. We can do a lot to reverse aging and illuminate the mind, clear away the cobwebs of the brain and the places where we might feel stuck mentally, where we might feel like we're aging mentally. And emotionally, it will clear away pretty much anything that is stuck in you and very rapidly. So when we're on the course, we work with all of those things. We're going to work with the nervous system. We're going to work with illuminating the higher states. We're going to work with clearing away emotions, releasing old mental patterns. And it all happens very quickly, which is what I love about this practice. There's a lot of people teaching breath work. There's a lot of modalities out there. And I will say that what I love about what I offer at this point is I can really acknowledge that I've been doing this my whole life. I've been teaching it since I was 23. I'm well adept in this realm. And so if breathwork appeals to you, I want to encourage you to, come and be with me on this course. I also have a longer video on YouTube where you can watch. It's not too long, but it's about 5 minutes and it goes into the details of the course and what we'll be doing, what the outline is. And you can also, of course, see on the network the written everything about it. And so now I can go and on to the other course topics, or Lauren, if you want to hear more about breathwork, what do you think?
Thank you so much. You are amazing. So amazing, Taya. I actually, I want to just clarify that this is such a gift that you are offering our audience. I want to say this first course that you just described on breath work, this is the sacred reset. Yes.
Yes.
And 5 weeks. So join Taya live or join it at any time, because even though it's live, this is going to be recorded and that's timeless. So the practices that we're going to learn in this and the experiences that we're going to have, it's timeless and it's evergreen. So that's what I'm excited about, because 5 sessions and you give it at such a beautiful price that I just want to thank you for that. To me, that's a
Mhm.
no-brainer. That's like less than a chiropractor's appointment, right?
Yes.
But what you're
This is
offering
true.
us is this natural, wow, 5 sessions of these techniques that you've spent most of your life learning and teaching others to be naturally high We like to say, plant medicine. I know, ayahuasca and San Pedro, there are people who love that. But I like to say that's taking the elevator in consciousness, where I like to take the stairs, and that's through breath work and
Mhm,
meditation. It's like, do
mhm.
you want to take a painkiller for your pain, or do you want to be with your body and witness? I like to
Right.
be and witness what's happening. And what we
Mhm.
learned, even in the first part, with just that simple, focused breath, I mean, it was just so gradual, but palpable. Um, to me, that's just so amazing. Why wouldn't we be doing this every day? So then I have to ask you, when do you do breath work? I mean, do you catch yourself like in your car? If something
Mhm.
triggers you, I mean, do you find yourself going to it several times a day, or do you have dedicated practice time as well? I'm certain that you do, but you must be breathing like we're all breathing, but you get my point, right? You must be
Yeah,
focusing
it's a
often.
perfect, yeah, perfect question. As I talk, watch how my body moves as we continue on with the session. Some of you may have already noticed that my body was breathing. You could see movement even when I was only listening for Lauren's questions. So because I've been doing it for so long, it's an ingrained mechanism. And that's the beauty of breath work. First, we're training, we're constantly remembering and learning. And over time, it's just like driving the car. A part of us just knows to breathe more deeply. So that is one beautiful gift that comes out of it. My body is always just breathing more openly. And so that's
Mhm.
my first part of my answer. I'm always breathing. But yes, I go to it if I'm driving and I just feel I want to take a deeper breath, or maybe somebody swears and almost hits me. I can take a deeper breath, or I can go to one of the techniques that I have that are easy to do and will quickly reset the nervous system so that I don't get stressed, so that I don't lose energy. I do breathing when I'm doing my yoga, when I'm doing Pilates, running on the beach. I'm big on exercise, swimming in the water here in Hawaii. I do some breathing before I come on any video. When I come off a video, midday, I do a tiny reset if I get the chance in my day where I go to my lying down practice. And I'm just breathing while I'm on my PEMF mat, my pulse frequency technology mat, which I also love technologies. And then sometimes I go to my deeper practices. So it used to be that I spent from 18 to 23 in really deep practice. I was up at 4, usually up till midnight, and I was breathing all the time and meditating all the time. And then after that, I became a mother and was running a retreat center, all kinds of things in my background. And so I would just fit it in wherever I could. And I say that also just to let those of you know that might be thinking, well, I don't have a lot of time to stack in breath work to my day. When you come on the course, you see that we have ways, if you have a lot of time, you can practice more. You can get up in the morning and practice at night. You can practice all day and all night if you want. But if all you can do is come to the go-tos to reset, even that is going to transform everything. So if you're a busy person or you don't think you're very disciplined and you just kind of like to dabble in things, you're still going to get the benefit because you're going to know how to go to your breath work when something's about to make you really upset or drain your energy, or you feel already depleted, or you feel bored, or whatever it is that you're going through in your day to day. You can plug in your breath work in this way. And to me, that almost has become what is most valuable to me as somebody that became very, very busy in life, was understanding that I could take my practice and apply it in so many ways. And that's in a way what I've become good at helping people with, because in the beginning it was more like, you know, if we're going to breathe, we're going to go into deep practice. We're going to go into the high state and we're going to ground. And that's more how I was taught. So what I stacked into it was helping people learn to add in these little mini bits of breath. So that's part of what you'll get on the breath work. I just want to reference briefly about, Lauren, you mentioned about the cost and what you receive. it used to cost a lot more. And right now I'm trying to offer things at these very reasonable prices because I know that so many people want and need these things. And I'm trying to just lean in to give, to help as many people as possible to feel that they can do these things. So it is a beautiful opportunity. And as Lauren said, you have it forevermore. If you can't come on the live, if you can, that is ideal because then you get to talk on there. You're building community and we build a group energy. But even if no one showed up, I'm still going to record it. So you'll have it, with all three of the courses that are coming up. Yeah.
Thank you for that again. It is such a gift, and I want to thank you for that. 5 sessions for $88. Again, that is such a gift. And the beautiful thing is this starts on 8/8. Isn't
Uh,
that beautiful? And so start that Lion's Gate with this breath work and enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. And it's 5 Saturdays. And again, it's just something that it's going to be received in your life in miraculous ways. Just pay attention and notice what you notice. That's the Sacred Reset, and it's Tara Breathwork by Taya Raine. So I just love that, Taya. Thank you so much. Um, your other work, I am particularly enthralled with Lemuria. So I think in the future we'll do another show and maybe we'll even do a course together on the Lemurian teachings, the Lemurian keys. And I
that
know
would
you've
be
got a book on
beautiful.
it. Congratulations on that. Um,
Thank you.
this is just something that warms my heart. Why is Lemuria so important to you? And we're going to get to your other courses in a moment, but why is Lemuria so important and part of your life
Mm.
mission?
Very good question. Yes, and for anybody that's interested in the book, you can find it on Amazon. The Lemurian Keys, or just put in my name if that's easier, Taya, and then Rain with the E on the end. You can also find it on my site, which is just tayaraine.com. And so I love your question. You are so good with the questions. So thank you. So with Lemuria, when I was 18 and I came to Hawaii, essentially I was experiencing the beauty of Hawaii. Hawaii is so incredibly sacred. And then something very phenomenal happened, which was that for the first time in this lifetime, I was greeted by what we refer to as the Ascended Masters, the Galactic Council, whatever other words we might want to use for these divine beings. And they let me know that they were going to bring me back in time to witness the creation of our world and the first civilization of Lemuria, and then later on into Atlantis and ancient Egypt. And so they did that. They brought me back. I witnessed a version, I like to say, of the creation of our world and Lemuria. And since that time, for my entire life of being on my path, Lemuria has been at the heart of everything that is so sacred and meaningful to me, in the sense that those are our origins. Those are our ancestors. That is when life first began on our planet. And the time of Lemuria was just incredible. It was a time of oneness and massive light and extraordinary way that our ancestors existed in. And then something happened that changed all of that. And then we move further and further into duality and we find ourselves where we are today. And so to me, Lemuria holds the keys to who we are, where we came from, what our potential is, because at that time, the DNA was so activated and unlimited. And it's literally the same DNA that's within us, right? It's just so much of it is dormant. So that story and that way of Lemuria, I like to say it just lives and breathes within me. It's not just that I was brought back and shown logically, I was really brought into it. And so it kind of is the way that I feel within myself is a massive memory plane, if you will, of Lemuria, of how we were at that time. And so it's very sacred to my heart. And the book that I wrote, it's now in its third and final edition. It got refined and refined. Readers tell me how much they love it if they get a chance to communicate. I highly recommend reading it. It shows us so much about Lemuria, who we are, where we came from, what we're capable of, why we're in what we're in today, what we can do about it with all these crazy things going on in our world. And it also shares the story of my own awakening in Hawaii. So that's a little on why Lemuria is so important to me. I'll throw in there too, before we go to the other courses, that breath work came from Lemuria, the Lemurians, and what I was taught by my physical teacher, which was so incredible because at that time at age 18, here I am, only 18, and I'm going with the ascended masters for these journeys to Lemuria and these high teachings. And my physical teacher was a major master in many, many ways. And he tells me that the breath work he's going to give me ultimately goes all the way back to Lemuria. And it was held by the Egyptians, the Tibetans, essentially in the East. It went down from Lemuria, got handed down to Atlantis, and then on into Egypt, Tibet, India, and now we're so blessed to have it in the West. And so when he told me that, we're going to talk about how the Lemurians were breathing, I was just absolutely shocked. And he explained to me, the way that they were breathing is why they were connected. I always remember him saying that. And that is what I feel. So when you come to breathe with me, that's literally what you're learning. You're learning all these things to reset, but you are beginning also to learn to breathe the way that the Lemurians were breathing, why they were connected to oneness. Because the breath is that link between our body, our mind, and our spirit. It was the gift that Creator gave the Lemurians, essentially to remain connected to the infinite source of prana, of life force. So from there, let's take it into the other courses. So we have a little time for that. How much time do we have?
We're doing really good. We're really good. We
Okay.
have about another 30 minutes.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you for
Okay.
that. Well, I wanted to
Yeah.
say as well that breath work from Lemuria. And so what I know about Lemuria is that it was one of the first, well, it's the third root race, but it was really the first root race of the third that um, came into physical form. So the root races before were not in physical, they were more non-physical. So that makes so much sense that the breath work connects us. And then we just forgot about it. But here we go. I find that fascinating. I really do. So thank you for sharing on that. Wow. Okay. Um, then you do have other courses coming up. So tell us about those. What are the names and what are we going to learn? Because you do offer much more. Sound healing and frequency is another course. Tell us.
Yeah. So I'll speak to that one. So we're going to work with healing and awakening through sound. And we're going to do that in several ways. One is that we're just going to use our own voice and we're going to open our voice to tone. And some of you may, already be familiar with this. It may already be a part of your practice, or maybe it was before, but there's definitely a lot of unique ways that I work with it. And if you're not familiar with toning, I'll just reference it here a little bit. Toning essentially is just opening our voice to make different sounds. And when we make these different sounds, things shift within our cells, our DNA, the mitochondria, the DNA of the mitochondria. Things shift in our tissues. Our fascia begins to shift. We release tension in the body. We open up emotional space. So we clear out emotionally. We clear out the cobwebs again mentally, similar to breath work. We open the pineal gland. It just does so much for us. And it can really also help us to get into that altered state where we're going to receive guidance and intuition, similar to breath work, but it's just another way to get there. And one of the unique ways that I work with sound and toning is that there's always going to be breath work in there. So I'm always going to be helping you to see that when we're breathing, we can tone more deeply, or if we're chanting, or talking or we're singing, breath is really the key. So that's one thing that makes it unique compared to, some out there. Some people, also will reference breath and toning, but I've definitely been in toning sessions where no one's ever mentioning the breath. So we weave in a lot that has to do with the breath. So as you're toning, it's going to help you to breathe more deeply. It's going to help you to get more lung capacity. And it's really, really effective for clearing out the vocal cords because they're actually something that we really need to be using more. It's another place I can reference Lemuria and ancient civilizations because in Lemuria, they were toning. They were using their voices very fully. They were really beings of essence and feeling. And so long before they were developing actual language, it was just tone, it was just feeling. So they might emit, a high E or, whatever it might be, where they were more just using the sound of their voice to be expressive and to communicate with one another, to commune with nature. So you'll hear a lot about that on the course. But yeah, it's something that ancient races, where they were much more open with their voices, whether just making sound or chanting or singing, that as Westerners, a lot of us are just never even doing, right? I mean, we talk, but we barely even use our voice when we're talking. And so even if you just want to become somebody that's better at talking, maybe you have things that you teach, or you coach with, or you heal with, and work with other people within. And if you come to toning, I'm going to swallow here. You're going to open up your ability to project your voice in a way where you're not using too much energy. You're not stressing, you're not forcing your voice to open because toning moves those cobwebby energies and it gets us into the full expression of our vocal cords and that full lung capacity. Emotionally, it is really good at bringing up old traumas. Lauren, you mentioned as we are breathing, the throat feeling tight. So when we do sound work, the throat, anything stuck in the throat really moves and it moves pretty quickly. But things can also move in your heart or your core or, old injuries. It is phenomenal what the sound work does. So we work with toning. You're always muted, so nobody's going to hear you when you're toning. And we work with it in many dynamic ways. We'll also work with a little bit of chanting, a little bit of singing. And then I'll always, at the end of each session, same price again, so huge value because you can't even go to a sound healing these days, literally one sound healing without it being like $44, right? So to have it for all of these classes at the end of when we're toning and opening, I'm going to play my rainbow crystal bowls for you. I'm going to play my medicine drum, and I'm just going to help you get into a deep state where one of the unique things compared to some when people are doing the bowls or drumming is that you're not only going to be listening and bathed in that, but some of the time I'm going to have you keep working with your own voice. And I've had a lot of people tell me how much that moves for them. And then some of the time you'll just be bathed in that. And the bowls, if you're not familiar with crystal bowls, they do so much to shift energy within us. So even if you're just on that course to get the blessing of lying there and being bathed in these sounds in the particular way that I play them, which is something that I love doing, that within itself has value. Hearing the medicine drum, which comes from Native American lineage, is very powerful. You'll have the recordings forevermore. And then at the very end, and this is also the case with the breath work and all the courses that I do, I guide you on a little visualization. It's always different. It's always a wonderful experience, and you're going to have that forevermore as well. And inside of the visualization, each time there's a different focus. It might be healing, it might be abundance, manifestation, it might be working with the DNA. And then at the end, we close out by grounding you so that you really bring all of that home in a way where you're accessing breath work, even though it's a sound healing experience. Again, it's always going to be woven in with the breath work. Let me say a tiny bit on how I got my start with sound healing and Then we'll go into the third and final course. Is really powerful. So please stay on if you can, or if you're watching this later, please watch that one. It's about healing trauma. All these things go together, right? So when I was 18 and I came to Hawaii, I just naturally began to tone. I just opened my voice and started making sound. And it felt intuitive. And later, when I was being shown the history of Lemuria, it fit together. Just witnessing that that was what what they did. First and foremost, it was just expression of voice, and it was expression that opened into that oneness. And so for me, I just organically was opening my voice, and I was finding that things were moving, especially that were stuck in my throat, and that I was feeling more at one with nature. So I began to use toning to commune with the trees, the river, the ocean. And then I was with the dolphins and the whales, and they're toners, big time, as we know. And so I was using my toning to communicate with them. And it got even more dynamic at that point. And then moving forward in time, my spiritual teacher had ways that he worked with sound. He was Native American. And so he began helping me to learn some of the chants. I then studied with different Native American people. I got my own medicine drum. Somewhere along the way, I got my crystal bowls and other instruments that I was utilizing. And I began weaving that in. Essentially, in the beginning, I saw that as just like something I was stacking into the breath work. So, say if people were doing breath work with me, I'd say, oh, now I'm going to give you, 5 minutes of toning or 5 minutes of, working with the sound healing. But over time, I wound up developing it very thoroughly. So, even when you're on the breath work courses, you're going to tone a little bit to, for example, open your chakras and your aura. I feel like if we have both, all the better, right? So why not? It's like, in the beginning where I was saying, to me, there's this umbrella that we can create for ourselves. We can do breath work, sound healing, we can do whatever we want. We're free. We don't have to be dogmatic or linear. And so if you can come to that one as well, or that one appeals more, I would encourage you to do so. Again, even if you've done toning, because it's going to be a beautiful journey. And all through that month of August and into September, or when these courses are happening. So any questions on that one, or should I go to the third and final?
I just want to share that toning is really powerful and how beautiful right now on our planet to help people share their voice of light. We really need to be able to express ourselves. And I wanted to share that I was having an experience toning. I just let myself tone one time, and it brought forward memories of Lemuria,
Mm.
how and how in my lifetime I was the one first and foremost who shut my singing down. I always thought other people shut me down for singing, but it was me first, and then I allowed others to buy into that as well. So that was deeply healing, and it totally did change my aura, and it changed so much because my pets, my dog and my cat, as I was doing this and having a memory of standing on the shores of Lemuria toning, and tears were flowing in that remembrance and that wholeness. And my cat and dog came bounding down the stairs to be in the room with me. Isn't that magical? That's just so, and so toning is really very good. And the way that it's
Mm.
our voice, it's our energy. And so
Yeah.
thank you for offering a class like this because it's so beneficial. Again, 5 sessions with you for that. That's so powerful and transformational. So I'm excited for people to do that and to witness what unfolds in their life as well. Plus, the crystal bowls. Crystal bowls are so pure. That sound is like a laser, and
Yeah.
we can feel what happens. And so that's just a beautiful, beautiful experience, Taya. Thank you. All right.
Yes. You're so
And so,
welcome. Love. Go ahead.
yeah, expressing our voice, right on. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Thank you. I
healing.
always love what you share. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
I know we're gonna stay tuned, everyone, because I think I'm putting something together more on this Lemurian thread. So Taya, we're going to talk offline on that, but I'm excited. Very cool. All right. And
Good.
then, as we come onto our path of awakening,
Mm,
um, we come into our heart. And when we go into our heart, we discover, oh no, there's some sadness there, or there's a wall there, there's something, and it's a cleanup job. So now this
yeah.
next course is talking about the cleanup job. We must heal from the trauma. And this could be big things that are, wow, life-changing, catastrophic trauma, but that trauma
Mhm.
can come in the forms of emotional trauma, like being
Mhm.
a child and not getting something that you really deeply cared about. It could be the smallest thing, right? You know
Yeah.
this as a parent. I know this as a parent that, wow, one little thing, the smallest of things could have such a deep impact. And that's where you go laser like again with this whole
Mhm.
teaching that you offer. So we're interested in healing trauma. Tell us what you
Mhm.
do to heal that trauma.
Yeah, thank you for that prompt. And so on this particular course, working with healing trauma, we're going to do many different things. One is just building community. So if you're on live, you'll have a chance to talk and kind of hear what other people have to say. And then I'll talk about trauma some, and I'll talk about how we're going to work with healing it. And then we're going to go into that portal of healing trauma. Now, without giving away too much of, how that is done, because it's kind of one of those things that's more difficult to explain, I'll just kind of give an overall here. It's going to be through shamanic healing. I can kind of help you to go within and access those places where you have trauma and guide you through effectively moving through what needs to be healed. And some of that may look like you may need to cry, you may need to shake, you may need to quiver, you may need to make sound. You may need to do any number of things. The beauty of doing it with somebody that's helping you is that you can feel safe and grounded and secure and always have a way to be walked back to the place where you're just feeling grounded and simple in the moment, so that you never feel like you're just spiraling out of control into emotional trauma release, but that you don't have a way to come back to the moment. So you're going to learn how to effectively then do that for yourself, so that into the future you can keep working with trauma healing. If more trauma comes up, you will have tools to work with where you can effectively walk yourself consciously through it, calling it up. So you're consciously in control of calling it up, rather than it just happens on any given day and you fall apart, right? So we work with consciously healing it and then feeling safe to ground and know that you are your own safety mechanism, so to speak. So you learn through me doing that for you, and then you learn to do it for yourself if that's something that you're needing. I would say that would be very beneficial for you. With trauma, in my experience of it, all trauma exists in the same way. So just as Lauren was saying, a child could go through one hard thing, or it could be somebody that's gone through massively hard traumas, things that are hard for most of us to even fathom. Somebody could go through, and maybe you're somebody that went through really, really big traumas. No matter the size and the depth of the trauma, it all exists within us in the same patterning. So that is what I mean by that. So we can unlock it all and we can heal it all. And one of the things over time that I got really more efficient with was doing it quickly. So in the 5 week session, you can, no promises, but people always have these amazing results in trauma release work with me. You can heal so much. You may be able to heal deep core wounds that you have not been able to heal in other ways, even if you've been trying for a year, 10 years, 30 years. You can bring up traumas that you didn't even know you had that are affecting you every single day. So I got efficient with how I do these things. First, by doing that in myself, I'll just say briefly, I was somebody that had a very, very traumatic childhood, went through a lot of trauma. When I was 17, the very first thing I wanted to do was get free of the past. And to do that, I recognized that I had traumas that needed to heal. So I developed most of this from within myself, but there again was my spiritual teacher who again was just a master of so many things. And he had ways that he helped people to heal trauma. So he helped me to heal. He gave me techniques I learned from some other people. I just kept stacking in how I work with healing trauma. And as a mom, I needed to get very effective with that and everything that I've held in my life. So trust me when I say this, there's huge value. I cannot make promises, but I can tell you that anybody that's ever worked with me in this capacity has had huge results. And we'll be doing many things inside of it. So you're going to walk away with a huge tool bag. And yes, breath work is a part of that. So we're going to use our breath to unlock those traumas and direct breath work in that particular way. So it goes really well with the breath work and the sound healing. If you want to do them all, they just work together. It's essentially, there's a few other methodologies that are the biggest in my umbrella of what I offer, but those are my three main things that I really believe everybody could use. So yeah, that's a little on that one. Any questions with that, Lauren?
I wanted to just say, again, you wanted to do something very special. And so all three of these courses, that would be 15 classes, all three of them are for the price of two. So it's like you're offering an extra bonus class. And that,
Wow.
again, wow, beautiful time with you. You're a beautiful teacher. Your presence is so commanding and gentle and serene that I can only imagine time with you, how healing that can be. And so when there's trauma, we may not even know that there's trauma that exists there, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
like, for
Yeah.
example, we get a lot of, it could be past life trauma, it could be related to Lemuria. I know I
Mm-hmm.
still carry responsibility for the fall of Lemuria, something deep inside of me. And it's why I do the work that I do today. There's a responsibility here. And so, what would you say, even though people may not be aware of trauma, would you say most people have it?
Yeah, I definitely would say most people have it, and even people that have done a lot of trauma healing often still have things that are there. Of course, there's people that have worked on themselves so much, there's just no more trauma in there. But indeed, we've all had so many lifetimes, and I love your reference to Lemuria. That's one that I always felt as well. I'm so excited for us to go more into that for everyone. I think so many of us, ancient souls, we carry these things that go all the way back in time, sometimes all the way to the beginning, but at the least several lifetimes back. And so it's not just about this lifetime, it's about the other lifetimes. And I feel in this audience, it's safe to assume that most people are about getting complete, the word ascension, the evolution, the self mastery. We want to do it all. We know this is the mega lifetime, right? And so working on healing the traumas is so important. And you may not realize that you have traumas. There may be even just simple patterns in your life that if you work on just looking into, discovering, if you will, on this course, do I have trauma? Are there things that I can release? Maybe just little things shift in your life that are bothersome or that prevent you from manifesting more or just having ease in your day to day or your relationships. It's really amazing what comes up when we work on healing trauma because it can be, again, just little things, but it can be really big things. And sometimes we're repressing them because we just don't think we have a way to deal with it. We feel like if we get emotional, things are just going to go poorly. Or, we have many reasons that we might be blocking those emotional experiences from arising, and also the mental level of that and the energy level of that. So when we work with healing trauma, we release so much stuck, frozen energy. We release it from our tissues, our cells that have toxins inside of them can also be cleared out when we're releasing trauma because there's a connection between the two. So I go into that a lot on the course as well. But yeah,
Okay.
suffice it to say, I agree. Most everybody has trauma on some level.
And and this is warranted right now, if we're looking out at the world and we're getting triggered, something inside of us is being triggered. So that
Yeah.
could be an indicator of some trauma that we need to clear. And I would like to add that when we begin to do this work, one thing I've noticed about myself is I can see those moments where I go unconscious. I act
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously, and it's like, ah, and it's like flexing a muscle. We become more aware of when we're unconscious. And so we're just becoming more conscious. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful place to be because it puts full responsibility on us for our
Mm-hmm.
life and our energy and how we show up in the world, right? So
Yeah.
this is beautiful
Yeah.
work that you're doing. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
share anything that might come to mind on what I just
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel we all have responsibility to one another in the world, and especially nowadays, it seems like our society's gone further and further away from that, right? And there's a lot of people that are just behaving in ways that are not responsible with their own emotions and throwing it around. And if we can be different than that, then great, we should be. And to be responsible with our emotions, how we treat others is of huge value because that is one form of self-mastery. How we treat the world and what we're going through is massively important as well. And to speak to, the world, what we're all in, we all know what it is. It's hard, and being triggered is going to happen, for all of us. And the thing is, as we know, they're only making it more and more chaotic and difficult and challenging, and all of these intense things are happening in the world that we don't want to have happening. But what we can do about it is learn to self regulate, learn to breathe, learn to go in those higher states, learn to use our voice, learn to clear our emotions, learn to be responsible with how we walk in the world, find our voice to express how we feel about what's going on, be effective, and therefore we can create change. And whether that's internal, that what we're broadcasting is something different than all the chaos and darkness that we see going on, or we also physically make a difference, or both as they go hand in hand, right? So, yeah, clearing out the traumas and feeling that if you get triggered, you have a way to deal with it, or that you don't even get triggered and you can stand in the face of these things that we're seeing going on, and you can be that pillar of prayer and pouring light into what we're seeing happening, and so on and so forth. And I would definitely say that in all of these things that I, work with, that is the case for me. I developed a higher and higher ability to handle witnessing what's happening and to move that energy clearly without feeling overwhelmed or stressed or, getting exhausted or panicking. So I have a lot to offer in that way. And you'll definitely learn on all of the courses something that has to do with what we're in today, how these things can help us in moving forward. And it's just invaluable. And of course, anytime we're all working together, is so good because then we know we're not alone as well. And we all need that, which is why I so love what you've created, Lauren. And just want to kind of bring it back to you and thank you for what you do in this world. And, let me know if you have other questions as we come closer to the end here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Taya. You again, I'm going to say you're so amazing. The frequency you show up in is so calming. I don't know who would not want to take you up on this incredible offer and spend these weeks with you. Again, I want to call it walking in higher states with Taya. Walking in higher states. You are going to help us. I don't want to use that word bulletproof because it's kind of negative, but it literally makes us on an energetic level so solid, so
Mhm.
grounded, so solid, so holding our light, walking in
Mhm.
higher states with Taya. All right.
Yes, that's what you
Thank
said.
you
I
for,
like that.
yeah, yeah. I think that's
You're
what we'll call that bundle for this program is walking in higher states with Taya. What a
Sounds
beautiful
good.
offering. So, all together for an incredible opportunity. It is 15 classes with Taya. Thank you for this, Taya. Everyone, go ahead and get
Awesome.
registered for this and get on board. We're excited for you to work with Taya, to feel your light, to feel your strength in the storm, to be that pillar of light in the storm and move into the new earth with no baggage. Yes. So, Taya, as we wrap up our conversation, any final thoughts on everything that you do and the importance of the need of the hour to do this work and
Yeah,
self-regulate?
that is a beautiful prompt for me. Again, you're always so good with the questions. Yeah, part of why I'm doing this, the buy two, get one free, is because I want people to experience the different types of work that I do and how they all weave together. And also just to give more value. I feel these days, some people can afford a lot, some people just can't. And spirit has really lit some spiritual fire underneath me. So I'll answer, I'll lead with that and then I'll say a bit more on it as to why I'm doing this now. I have done a lot in my life to serve a lot. And spirit has just told me, right now and from here on, do as much as you can. And so I've just been, I think a lot of us have been, I got chills as I said that, but I've just been called to show up as quickly as I can. And my children are growing up. So my time is available in a different way as well. So that is why I am really on board to give everything that I've ever developed, everything that I can possibly give. And I'm able to do it in a way where I say sustained, so it's all good. I'm just excited. I'm happy. I'm well, and I have so much of that I can offer to others. So I feel that I am here to be in service. I became aware of being in service at 17, and it's just always been a feeling that has guided me and led me. I feel that we are indeed in that mega lifetime, and it's all about doing as much as we can. So that is why. That's the why of, do more, be on your platform more. And there's plenty of other ways, that people can work with me. But to me, this is a great way to make myself available because the thing I don't have a lot of time for is promoting, and I will always try to help with that. But the more people, the better. So, if anything appeals to you, please send your friends our way. Please introduce them to
Yeah.
this, to the courses. Maybe we can get more people into the bundle. And yeah, and I just want to thank you, Lauren, as well, for all that you do, the time and the care that you put into these interviews and the platform. So grateful.
Thank you for listening to Spirit and for taking the journey on this planet at this time, Taya. I am right there with you. In October of 2024, thereabouts, Sanat Kumara, one of my
Mm,
guides on my sofa council, usually
mm,
just beams me with love, but he said to me, it's time to get busy. And
mm,
now here we are, and I know exactly what that means. And getting busy doesn't mean we're doing more, but it means we're
mm.
showing up in a different
Right.
way. And
Yeah.
so your work helps people show up and help themselves so that they can help others as well. So kudos to you, Goddess. Kudos. Thank
Mm,
you. Thank
mm.
you. Thank you for this quantum conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We hope that you shifted in your attitude and your energy today and return to that breath work and join Taya for her beautiful offerings and witness for yourself the power of breath work in your life and doing this incredible healing and healing with sound and frequency. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Taya. Namaste.
Thank you. Bye.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in Unity Consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.